Welcome to another episode where the stones have a story to tell. We are wrapping up our exploration of a potential ritual site here in Gilbert Hills State Forest, Foxboro, Massachusetts, that I'm theorizing could have been used on the winter solstice as a ritual to bring this balance to the universe by helping the sun spirit get to the underworld. We've come all this way collecting the spirits along the stations that are consistent with the research would have been used for such a thing. And we get up to this point here, which is the linear cairn we left off in the last episode, up to a rock outcropping. And this rock outcropping here, and I'm going to go around to come up the other side, because as the line of the cairn and niche points down to this spot, really, we imagine that as the research shows, these rituals were very often conducted in a procession. And so as we would follow the line implied by that cairn directly to here, I had postulated several episodes that this structure was blocked. It has four sort of natural openings, and I had said that three of which were blocked. I now think that's incorrect. I think that this structure is open on its eastern side and its western side, blocked on its northern and southern side. Now, why does that make a difference? In the research that we will go to now from Stonehenge of Americas, there was and it was fully constructed. Obviously, I think this was utilized in place for the most part and not manufactured. But there was a situation in a sun ceremony where a structure was created with a passageway through it from that eastern side through the western side. Let's go to that research now.
The east-west walk-in chamber is covered in Mary Gage's America's Stonehenge Deciphered from page 216 to 219. And while not an exact copy of what we're seeing at Gilbert Hills, I think the concept, if taken as a general comparison or impressionistically, is similar. The idea that it is a walk-in chamber, it runs east to west as our walking way does in this labyrinth in the Stonehenge of America is really completely man-made, so there are a number of different features in it that I don't think we find in ours. However, the similarities exist around the east-west side being similar and open versus the north-south side being closed. Mary writes, opposites and matching continue to be an important part of balance in this type of chamber, and then goes on specifically to say that the two spirits that are invited into this type of chamber for the ceremony were the sun spirit and the underworld spirit, very similar to what we have here at the Snake Cave site. So with a naturally formed labyrinth that has four essentially openings to it, two of them are blocked, two of them are open to the east and the west, I think there's enough here to draw the analogy from an impressionistic point of view that you're looking at the same type of structure for the main ceremony, using the same types of spirits, which would have been for them the sun spirit and the underworld spirit. All right, back to the video.
Following that research up, I think while I had argued this was blocked, I now believe as the ceremony came this direction, that procession would have passed right through this area here into this space. And so if we imagine the procession following up through this crevice here is a walkway, if you will. And I'll hop down to make the point. Could have come to this middle area here. We saw in the cave the 2 episodes ago that open areas seem to be blocked by stone in certain places. We can certainly see this, which would have been on the northern side, and in this area here, which I'm going to put the GoPro directly into, in the southern side. It is here in those spots there and there that I think the stones were placed to close up the area. And it is this overhang here that would have or could have served as the main ceremony spot. What did the main ceremony consist of? It would have been a portal in their minds to the underworld, where the shaman would have called forth the guest and the host spirit and sent them down into the underworld for the winter. So it is in this spot, which is quite striking actually, in its size and its orientation, that I think the main spirit or the main ceremony would have occurred. From there, I believe procession may have continued toward an ending ceremony, which will follow along. But along the way, we're going to introduce you to the concept of the fourth spirit group that was in the belief system of the ancient Native Americans, and that would have been the unwanted spirits, the uninvited spirits. And so, if you've got helper spirits, in this case, we had water spirit, serpent spirit, potentially a moon spirit, that would have been consistent with the research. The host spirit, the underworld spirit, the guest spirit, the sun spirit, heading to the underworld for the winter on December 21st, the winter solstice. There were a group of spirits that the shaman just didn't want involved, whether they were disruptive or had malintent, regardless. And so there is this concept of blocking stones. And this is, I think, pretty exciting from my perspective, because linear cairns are difficult to pin down as to what their use were. But this stone here on the westerly exit, which would have been facing sunset as well, I think gives us a sense, and the cairn really starts here. So the exit would be here. This cairn starts right on the exit, and it is this last stone it's attached to, or first stone. And I'm backing up to get you the shot I need here to show you the shape of the stone. So we're going to cut to the research right now, but triangular stones like this one here would have been used for blocking potential. So blocking the concept of spirits that were unwanted. So we see the exit, we see the cairn starting here, and this triangular stone, I would argue, is a blocking stone in the philosophy of ancient shamanism in New England Native America. All right, so I haven't dug all this out, but you can see stones lining the row here until we get to what is a more obvious linear cairn. And we've seen this carry through this. Now we're looking into the main ceremony area from that north side. This cairn picks back up, and this linear cairn goes on for quite a while until it touches the ridge line of where I would argue the ending ceremony occurred, which we will head up to now. But I think the exciting part about this is that, at least in one case, we can see a linear cairn or connected cairn, and then usually they are just in a line running from boulder to boulder, embedded boulder to boulder, a little row of stones. You can see in one instance, this was very likely an entire blocking mechanism for a major annual ritual. All right. So now that we've completed the main ceremony, the ceremony has to account for the spirits that have been called forth to help. They have to go back somewhere. They're not going to be probably left to roam around. And so as we head up to, and I had not found this in the initial research of the site, it was really just moving around, setting up the episodes, that I ended up finding this next structure, which I have included in the LiDAR. But it really fits the entire narrative pretty well. We're heading up now to where one would enter from the main ceremony spot, the Overlook, the last position in the LiDAR. But along the way, and I just don't believe in coincidence, so that's why I would identify this structure as a niche. We find a niche that would have served in the mythology of ancient Native Americans, their spiritualism, as a portal to the underworld. Certainly separate, now head up to it, than the main ceremony. And here it is. It also faces in that westerly direction. A niche is a top stone supported by side stones, and in their mind, used for offerings or portals. Now, the construction style is different between offering and portals. And why I think this is a portal has to do, and we'll cut to the research as well, or bring it up along the side of the image here, the shape of the top stone. In the mind of ancient Native Americans, a 90-degree angle was often a portal to the underworld. So you've got a top stone that is, whether it was originally this way or made to be this way, a 90-degree angle, a niche, portal to the underworld. You could have redeposited your serpent effigy, certainly, or your serpent spirit, and possibly other spirits as well. Now I'm going to head down here to a rather precarious location, the edge of a cliff, to get to the Overlook in the last position. And I'm going to explain why I think the procession worked this way and ended here. I'm going to flip you back around. And now, see, about a 30-foot cliff. This area has two carved out, I would argue, find a little thing that's safe here, curves. One here, and a little farther down. I'm going to extend out the tripod, extend out the stick here to get you out. Got this 15-foot stick just for this purpose, but we can see the overall location. We can see this alcove, if you will. Now, what I'm going to argue here is that this closing area was used for water spirit ceremony. And the reason for that is this area under my foot where it starts, this bigger alcove, and the smaller alcove run downhill to what I'm going to argue is a basin and a drain. This alcove being a basin, and this spot here heading down the V in the stone, a drain back down to what is a marshy, swampy area, and then looking over this way to the caves. If I'm correct in my theory, you have what is potentially a nearly complete recreation of an ancient Native American winter solstice sun spirit ceremony. Based on the research Mary Gage has done in other areas in New England, we can account for water spirit, underworld spirit, helper spirits such as the serpent spirit, potentially the moon spirit. We can account for the space where the underworld spirit could have been called forth. That entire structure and its progression is probably exactly how that spirit would that ceremony would have gone. Helper or navel spirits, host spirit, and then lastly sun spirit, guest spirit. A main ceremonial area, which is an alcove in a very interesting labyrinth, would have served as an enclosure, as well as a portal to the underworld for them. Exiting that and heading over to the end of the ceremony, then the other enabler spirits could have been dropped off along the way in an underworld niche, or here a basin and drain overlooking a wetland and the caves. So whether I've got it all right or any of it right, I'll let you be the judge, but I think it has been an interesting experiment to put together what is a handful of man-made structures along with a number of natural features to postulate almost an entire recreation of a very important Native American balancing ritual. So with that, I've got a couple other topics I want to hit on this site before we move on to something else, but this is really wrapping up the recreation and the decoding of that winter solstice sun spirit ceremony. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. All right, tell.